Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good Wednesday morning, and this is Naaila. I am one half of that clay couple, and I am a contributing counselor here at About Islam. So, if you've been with me for a while, you know that my thing is relationships. Every relationship possible. It could be a love relationship, it could be a work relationship, it could be parent child. I don't care, because I know that our relationships are the things that make everything work, which is most crucial is our relationship with Allah. All right, so when you guys come in, you know how I work. I want to know where you are. Tell me, what are you doing today? Obviously, I get to start my day off with you. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. That's in the southern part of the United States. It is a wonderful, wonderful 9-something a.m. here. I haven't been outside yet, but something tells me it's going to be a traditional Atlanta day and be hot and sticky. We haven't seen our fall weather yet. What about you? Have you had your fall weather where you are? Okay, you're all the way in Australia. How cool is that? But I think it's great that the world lets us get a little closer and I get to be with my About Islam family. It's cold. Oh, in my heart, I want to feel that. I want to feel some fall weather. It's so weird here. Walaikum salam, Ayan. It's so weird that we see fall. The leaves and everything have changed outside. Alhamdulillah, Allah is majestic with his creation. And it's beautiful outside, but it's still hot. So it still feels just a little bit weird. I know, right? But again, I'm going to be talking about relationships. I am going to check all of my great places where I stay in contact with my About Islam team while I sit here and I talk with you, because they keep me together. They keep me organized, and I really wouldn't be able to do this if they didn't. Okay. Oh, Ayan is in London. How beautiful. You know, we just had friends who came back from London. Oh, so glad you get to have some nice weather. But I'm gonna get out later and I'm gonna see what it's like outside. It looks beautiful, alhamdulillah. Allah has been merciful. He's given us sunlight. Okay, so today I don't have guided and preempted questions that have been submitted. So we're going to take advantage of it, and you guys get to give me your questions right now if you like. As always, you can submit them in the box. I'm going to try to keep up with them as we go along. You can put them right here in the comment section, and I'll get to them, whatever it is that you like, whatever it is you're most comfortable with. I know sometimes, people don't want to, ask a question out in the open, and that's okay. That's okay. All right, so let me make sure. I'm going to check one last time. Y'all bear with me. Y'all are wonderfully patient. Thank you. Okay, so there are a couple of things I wanted us to talk about today. You know how we always talk about, relationships with other people. And there is one key relationship that affects all of the other ones. And that's our relationship with Allah. And there are so many people that I work with as a counselor who struggle with this relationship with Allah. And it's surely not because Allah has done anything. We know that Allah is not the author of chaos and confusion. It's because of something that we've got going on with us. It's because of a test that we may be having. It's because of a struggle that we may be having. Y'all, it really usually is because of a relationship that we're having somewhere. And it may be a relationship with our husband or our wife. It's a relationship with our parents, a family member. It's a relationship with money. We're not having enough, or even a relationship with money because of the way people respond to you because they think that you have too much. And then there's a relationship with your own head and your heart. Sometimes we have some struggles with these two things. And we have these struggles because of shame, because of childhood issues, because of what we learned from our parents. I don't know, because we may be going through depression, whatever it may be. So I'm not going to address all of the other relationships, but I am going to give you some tips about what to do in regard to that relationship with Allah. Hi, Judy. Judy's all the way from Canada. MashaAllah. Thank you, Abu Bakr. So I want to give you a tip about that relationship from Allah, with Allah. And because when we're going through a hard spot, many times people tend to put that relationship on the back burner. And we do less in regard to our acts of worship, or we may not be consistent. One of the things that I hear often is that people just feel like, you know what, I'm just going through the motions. I'm not being authentic. I'm not being genuine. So why even do it? And so what I am going to say is, first, we don't know what Allah's opinion. We are the ones who you have put this idea and this judgment in our head that, you know what, I am just the worst possible Muslim right now. I am just the worst possible person right now. And, you know, it's just not worth me putting in the effort, that I don't deserve Allah's mercy and His grace, which is so not true. So what do you do? What do you do when you feel like I have so much going on that I really can't even worship, I can't even work on this relationship with Allah? What do you do? The first thing you do is you don't stop. Because this is the beauty of Allah. At any time, because, you know, He is definitely Al-Aziz, you know, He is Akbar, He is the greatest, and He is the mighty. At any time, He's going to do what it is that He does that we can't do, right? Alhamdulillah. So, our role is to keep showing up so that we are present in that moment, so that we are able to be available and in position when Allah comes through and He makes that change for us. Who doesn't want to show up for the change that Allah has for you in your life? Who doesn't want to be present and in position for that? But you're not if you step outside of what is going to be, you know, your obligations and your frame and your duties in worship and in your duties of Islam. Stay in the path. I know sometimes that you may feel like, you know what, I shouldn't be doing this. You know, I don't feel like I have any khushu. Stay in it. Don't tap out. This is what Shaitan wants you to do. So the first thing is for you not to tap out. Y'all see you see my kitty cat? That is that's Mackenzie, and as you can see, Mackenzie likes to look out the window. Okay? So the second thing is, I am going to talk about what this is something for our folks who are not married, for our unmarried people, in regard to what would be, when I thought about what would be my number one tip for someone who is not married. And that is, I touched on this just last time, and that's the issue of compatibility. before you go into a marriage, you know how very often people will talk about, this is what I like, and this is the type of person I want to meet, and this is the type of person that I want to marry, and I would like a wife who does this, and I would like a husband who does this, inshallah. They say all of these things, right? And they're usually very nice things. They're very often things that almost everyone would like to have. But I'm going to challenge my unmarried folks to be honest. I want you to be honest about the things that you know that you would bring to a marriage that people don't talk about. So what is it that you mean, Naaila? So if you know that you've been told, your table manners are not ideal, let it be known. If you know that, when it comes to organization in the house, that if someone moves something and then it's someone that you live with and they move a couple of your belongings in a day, that you're definitely going to be bothered, let it be known. If you know that you're the exact same opposite and you know you have no organizational skills whatsoever, let it be known. And this is the thing, people always talk about their great qualities, but we're not candid and honest about our weaknesses. And this is the thing about human behavior, is that very often we kind of tend to attract our weaknesses. The ones that no one mentions, but then too often we marry someone who brings those things out of us, or who has the exact same problem, even with them never being said. So I want you to be honest about that. And inshallah, it will encourage the other person to do the same. But two, you will have made sure that you were clear about who you were. Or is it as clear as you feel comfortable being? Because no one's going to tell everything, okay? All right, so I have a question here. It says, I'm a recent convert to Islam. My wife and I have been married for 3 years. She is non-Muslim and she is also not a Christian or Jew. Can you advise on this? Okay, so I'm going to ask the person who presented this question, what is it that you would like some advice or some feedback about? I mean, because there's so many things that could be that could involve or could encompass. So if you could narrow it down, because I don't want to make any assumptions about what it is that you might be asking. Oh, Assalamu alaikum. We have someone from Kurdistan. I believe that this may be my first visit to that country, my first virtual visit. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. Thank you for being here today. All right, so what's my tip for married couples? What I would say to a married couple, and I'm gonna connect this one directly to Islam. What I would tell a Muslim couple, or even a couple where the husband is Muslim and the wife, she may be a Christian or a Jew. We're still talking about someone who's Muslim who's married to someone of the book. So I want to use those. This is for those two scenarios, okay? When it comes to the ways that you are going to practice faith in your family, you're going to practice Islam and in your marriage, know that the other person has their own idea of what Islam is going to look like. And so when people say, oh, you need to fear Allah, well, my definition of how I fear Allah and your definition of how you fear Allah and how you fear Allah and how you fear Allah and how you fear Allah, we may all come up with a different term and a different label for it based on where we are in our lives right now. So if that's the case, then that would mean that we may agree in principle on the same things. But when it comes to living it out loud and how we actually do it, we might be in two totally different places. And that's okay. You know, man wears out like clothing. Sometimes it's strong and fresh and new, and sometimes it's worn. And I may be in a position where I'm worn, and my spouse may be in a position where he is strong and sturdy and crisply ironed. You know, it's good. And be mindful that in a marriage, when the two of you are in two separate places, to not show judgment. To not shame the other person for not being where you are, and to not try to prevent the other person from growing and from increasing, or even for them to feel bad about where they are they're trying to progress. Either way, we're still dealing with the same thing, and that's the thing of judgment. That's the thing of shame. And people, it takes such a core root. People start even feeling like deceived. I came into the marriage and I thought that you were one way spiritually. Even if I thought you were here, or even if I thought you were here and you went here and you came to here, whatever it is, I had an idea of who you were spiritually. So I believed. And then people marry and they get something totally different. And they feel very disappointed by this. And the disappointment largely comes from the way they see this faith, the way they experience this faith from the other person. So I'm going to say to my married people, be very mindful of what it is that you are telling another person that they are supposed to do with their Islam in a marriage. This is what you need to do for Allah, and this is what you need to do. And right now I'm going to talk to my brothers, specifically brothers, because you have a greater role as amir and religious leaders in your households. So you do have a position of leadership, but this position of leadership is not one to be used as a whipping stick, and it's not one to be used to embarrass someone, and it's not one to be used to use fear to get people to obey you, because the obedience is for Allah and not for the husband. And so what happens is that when a spouse takes on the faith based on how it is with the other person, then they don't have a relationship with Allah. They have a relationship with Allah through another person. We don't have a mediator in Islam. We don't have a go-between. I don't have to go around and go through anyone to practice this religion. Alhamdulillah, we have a straight connect. A straight individual connect with Allah, and all of us should get it on our own terms. So please be mindful of telling your spouse how their faith is supposed to look, and that your path should be their path. That's not true for anyone. Allah has given us a path that is called the Quran and Sunnah. That is the path. And yours and yours and yours and yours, all of ours, they're going to be different at different phases. Okay, does that make any sense? Okay, she said, well, for women who convert, the law is that she should restrain herself from sexual relations with her husband until he becomes a Muslim, and encourage him to accept Islam. Ultimately, if he refuses and rejects it, then it is better for you that you leave him. Okay, I'm not going to get in. I read that out loud, but my role here is not to get into what Islam does or doesn't say in regard to into some matters. I will say fundamentally is that, you know, a Muslima should not be married to a non-Muslim man. And there are instances in which a woman does become Muslim while in the marriage. She becomes Muslim in the marriage and her husband is not, which is this exact situation that you're describing here, which is a whole nother setup. What do you do in that situation? And you're right. There's not a lot of information in regard to sometimes we feel like there's not a lot of information in regard to our situation specifically, because people, we really want it to be spelled out. You know how in the Quran Allah tells us, okay, this is the person you can marry this person, and you can marry this person, but you can't marry this person, and you cannot marry this person. And human beings want things to be that spelled out for them. But Allah doesn't always do that, because He also says in the Quran that this is a book for those who think and reflect. And for sometimes it's going to be about us giving some good common sense, and looking at the entire scenario and looking at your unique situation and taking all of those things into consideration, and then making a decision about what is going to be good for you and the people it's going to impact in that situation. And you may not find an ayah for that. And that's what people want. And so when you say, there's times when, okay, we don't have a lot of advice in Islam on this, and we don't have a lot of advice on this. We do. Many times we do, but it's not as specific as this is what you do, and this is what you don't do. And this is what people want in regard to guidance. But Allah, in His infinite wisdom, He has given us the opportunity to be people who think and reflect. Alhamdulillah, that's a good thing. Okay, she said, I'm in my instance, I become Muslim in the marriage and I'm the man. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Thank you about Islam. I think that's a great thing, to leave that to the scholars. I'm a clinician. That's my area of expertise. So I'm going to make sure I don't have any questions coming through on anywhere else, because we communicate in so many places here. So, and I got to keep up with them all. All right. Okay, here's one. It says, I've been in and out of relationships, and it's really exhausting due to myself being anemic. But most women get discouraged, even if they love a man, but he happens to have an imbalanced immune system. I don't know. Does that scare women away? I'm tired of trying over and over again. Sadiq, I hear what you're saying, and I hear what you're saying so much, because this is one of the struggles of being unmarried, is that you do get tired of trying, because a try also means that you ended up unmarried, which was not the goal going into it. And those things are disappointing. And I'm going to tell you, I sit here anemic myself, so I can definitely relate. It's controlled, alhamdulillah, at this time of my life. But I remember, having to go to the ER a couple of times a year, and if I got sick, I would have to go to the ER. So I understand. I'm very empathetic into what it is that you're talking about. But one, I'm going to say, please take care of yourself, inshallah, and may Allah grant you ease. The next thing I'm going to say is that if you're asking me, do I believe that this scares women away? No, I don't, because anemia is something that, with diet, and maybe even medication, that you can do some things about. This is not something that is going to hinder your life. I don't know to what level yours is, because I do know that there are very, very extreme situations in regard to anemia. And I don't know where you are on the spectrum. But I do know, that health issues don't necessarily scare someone away. And I'll tell you a bit about my own situation. My husband is blind, and he went blind in our marriage a couple of years into our marriage. But when we married, he was legally blind. He still had some sight. I did not anticipate him going blind, but even with the loss of sight that he did have, that didn't scare me away, because there were so many other things that didn't require sight that he brought to me, to my life, to our marriage. And so I want you to think about those things, not about what your anemia doesn't let you do. I want you to think about the other things that you have that are unique to you, that you do offer someone, and focus in on those things. And you know what? I really believe, inshallah, that the sister that is for you, when she hears those things and she sees them, she's not going to run, inshallah. But I do understand, and I want to talk about, there are 3 emotions that I say often get people in rough places, and that's, 2, love and fear. And love, fear, and the third one is loneliness. And the loneliness of being unmarried, it's serious. It can be serious. We live in a world of companionship, and human beings are wired for companionship. Allah put us here to help one another, to do things for one another, to learn unity. And it's hard to feel that way when in the privacy of your life, you're by yourself. And we don't talk about this enough. And how lonely it can be to have beautiful acts of worship that you do regularly, but you do them by yourself. And we have to be honest about what that might feel like to someone. And so I'm saying to you, I'm empathetic for where you may be, but I do know that I'm not negating at all the sincerity of how it is that you might feel. It's valid. All right. Inshallah. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. I'm so happy to have all of you here today with me. I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. It's almost October already, right? I'll be back in 2 weeks, and we will do this again. Remember, you can please go ahead and submit your questions if you have them ahead of time, and I will do everything that I can to answer them live here. You can submit them at any time. It doesn't have to be the day of, and I will see you again, inshallah. May Allah grant all of you ease. May He answer your du'as. May He keep you on the straight path, and may He mention your names to the angels as those He loves. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum.